Okay, hi guys. Welcome to episode 8 of Edges and Sledges. We're in the second week of the IPL. So today's topics will be focused around that. I have my co-bloggers with me, DJ from London, Ashwin, again, he's still in China on holiday, and myself, Varun from Singapore. And today we've got another special guest continuing with our trend over the last 2 weeks. So just to recap, in week one, we had Vishnu Mohan talking about Chennai. In week two, we had Rohan Narula talking about Punjab. And this week, we've got Siddharth Podar talking a little bit about Rajasthan. And
Hi
so,
guys.
hey, Pod. So, Pod, as we call him, right? Pod and I go back a long way. We studied together. I hate to say this, right, to DJ and Ashwin, but if there is a bigger cricket fan than the three of us, it is Siddharth Podar, right? He has memories, he knows stats, he knows things off the top of his head. Pod has joined me in Singapore to for the sessions with both Murli Tharan and Virender Sehwag, and probably knew more stats than Murli himself for one of the questions. And I definitely have to bring up one incident that Pod and I remember vividly, which is we went to watch a game at the Oval in 2011, and we went, and India was batting 8 down, and Amit Mishra and Sachin Tendulkar were batting.
That's a rather embarrassing one.
Yeah, this is embarrassing. Amit Mishra and Sachin Tendulkar were batting, and there was a glorious cover drive, and Pod and I both kind of looked at each other and said, "Wow, man, Sachin really hit that well," and only to find that that was Amit Mishra's glorious cover drive. So, Pod, I think there's still a lot we can learn. But welcome to the show, Pod. Today we want to talk to you a little bit about Rajasthan Royals. Before we get into too many things about this season, tell us a little bit about your journey with Rajasthan Royals. I know you've supported them since year one. What are your thoughts about the team?
So I mean, it started off in a very simple way, so to speak, right? So the IPL was starting off, and none of us really knew what it's going to be. It was all exciting. We had done it all before in book cricket, through class, to see all kinds of players playing together. So when the tournament started, I didn't really have much of any allegiances, so to speak, right, as any of us. But I don't know. I suppose a couple of things. One, because I mean, I don't live in India, so I suppose I hail from Rajasthan. So that was one reason why it was Rajasthan Royals, and the second was it was being captained by Vaughan, and who's one of my favorite cricketers of all time. So there was just something about it. It had a weaker team to start with, and so the underdog syndrome, I suppose, all of these put together was, and nobody else was supporting Rajasthan. That was a big factor as well, right? So that makes it fun. So that's how I started watching it, and I have followed it over the years. Of course, the last couple of years were quite annoying because they weren't there, but deservedly so. And so yeah, in the last couple of years, it was Pune because there was some sort of a semblance to what Rajasthan's team was. And this season's been a middling season so far, but still a long way to go.
Yeah, awesome. And Pod, I know you are a huge fan of Dravid and Rahane, and how big has that influence been on the Rajasthan Royals journey over the last kind of 11 years for you?
See, for me, that's a difficult one to put in, right? Because there are various facets to it, right? They are two of my favorite cricketers. Rane is still very young into the role. I'd like to speak more about Dravid. And so one of my favorite cricketers, and I suppose all of us. But so the difficult one here is that, there were times when I myself questioned whether he should be in the team, right? But at the same time, with the team that Rajasthan had, I still think that he was probably the best guy to be leading them. And I don't think the results don't show. And, this whole spot fixing thing happened under his watch, so to speak. So that was a bit of a dampener. But yeah, it was a left field call to bring him in. And I suppose the objective was to build a team over the longer term. But then the spot fixing scandal sort of nipped that in the bud, and they're back to square one again. So, I think it's there to be seen in how Dravid was the mentor for Delhi last season, right? And it was how some of the youngsters were being given opportunities. So I think that was so I have fond memories of that. But with Rane, it's still too early to say, and he was receiving a lot of criticism, but in the last 2 games he seems to have stepped up. But again, it's just 4 games in; it's still early days.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced about his captaincy though.
Okay, fair enough. I think he's doing well at the top of the order. But let me move a little bit to DJ. So DJ, how big or how badly do you think Rajasthan Royals is missing Steve Smith?
I mean, number one batsman in the world, captain of Australia, and would have been captain of the Rajasthan Royals. It's a big loss. An excellent fielder as well, and we know a fielder's worth maybe 10, 15 runs in some games. So they are missing Steve Smith a lot, and I mean, it is what it is, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just want to jump the gun here, but I really don't think Rajasthan is missing Steve Smith, because if I look at the lineup, it's the first question is who does he replace, right? So I don't know. But I get it. I mean, yeah, he would have probably been made a better captain, perhaps. I don't know. As a fielder, of course, but as a batsman, I'm not so sure.
I mean, sorry. On that, wouldn't he just take Darcy Short's place? Because they've been playing this guy without much luck, and I would have thought he'd just replace him. But anyway,
so I wouldn't have Darcy Short in the first place. So
what
would have been one of the other guys, Jofra Archer or somebody. Yeah.
So were you happy when Klaasen replaced him? And let me ask you the question: do you think Klaasen should have opened, considering we saw him playing in South Africa in a different position?
No, not really. I'll borrow from one of the conversations we had with with the guest on your last podcast, Rohan, and where we talked about, and this is exactly what he had said, that Tripathi should open, Klaasen should come into the middle order, and I sort of tended to agree with that.
Okay, interesting. So yeah, I think Rajasthan's got Tripathi, they've got Rahane. I think their middle order is pretty good. Before we get to the bowling, DJ, Ben Stokes, hit or a miss so far?
I think he's been a bit of an edge, that guy. He's obviously a big player. Fantastic last year for Pune. I think he may have been man of the IPL last year. But he just hasn't performed. I mean, not only for his IPL team, but he hasn't performed for any of the people who've picked him in his fantasy team, which is definitely more important. So I've been leaving him out for the last few games, and I'm sure you guys have as well.
Yeah, in fact, it's interesting. I was chatting with my friend yesterday, and he was saying the problem with Ben Stokes is he always looks like he's about to get into a bar fight. So I don't know if he's hitting the bars in India or not. But yeah, but I think from my perspective, Ben Stokes has been a bit of a miss. I think it's early, but you don't want him to be that guy who hits that 1 century every IPL but doesn't contribute enough. To be fair, I think he has bowled well, but he just...
Wow, 1 century in an IPL, not so sure. He won 4 man of the matches last season.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so there you have it.
But he shouldn't bowl at the death.
Fair. Okay, fair enough. So that's a good segue into the bowling. So let me ask Ashwin, right? What's happening with the bowling? I mean, there are guys you never heard of, Shreyas Gopal, Gautam. There is Dhaval Kulkarni, who's known to be one of the, upcoming Indian bowler. And then I think probably the most expensive pick of the IPL so far, Jaydev Unadkat, who is getting a bit of flack for his price point. So Ashwin, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Apologies, technologies failing me a little bit, so there may be a little bit of an audio lag, but I'll do what I can. First off, on the question of what's happening with the bowling, I think for me the simplest way to summarize what's very visibly happening is that the young Indian batsmen continue to struggle against seam, the quick swinging, bouncing ball, and overseas batsmen are just really struggling to pick the spinners. I mean, the Delhi matches on as we record this, and Jason Roy came out and just could not read the ball. Just the stock leg break from Yuzvendra Chahal. Basically most of the and it up their game, right? And we are starting to see captains hold their spinners until the overseas batsmen come in.
Ashwin, we're having a bit of trouble
Dhoni
hearing you.
did that
Actually,
pretty
so,
effectively against
um,
when Stokes and Butler were coming in. So they're starting to do that. On the discussion, just quickly, of Jaydev, and he didn't. My perspective on this is he didn't ask for that kind of price. It was an auction process. Not more than one team bid on him. There were many rounds of bids. People. Why don't you carry on then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think we
Yeah,
heard
keep
you
going if quality
we
allows.
heard you on the Jaydev Unadkat piece. I think it's very interesting because Harsha Bhogle tweeted as well in support of Unadkat, saying that, they bid for him. If he had asked for this price and that this was his performance, it would have been a different issue. But they did bid for him. Pod, any thoughts on the bowling so far?
About Unadkat, like Ashwin was just mentioning, right? People always seem to think that Rajasthan overpaid by paying whatever, I think, I forget the sum, 2.1?
Yeah, about 11 crores, yeah.
Yeah, so about 2 million or thereabouts. But I think what people don't realize is that if the price reached that high, there was another team that was willing to pay whatever, 1.9 or something for him, right? So, but I agree. I don't think warranted that kind of money. Not that surprised because every IPL, a couple of times, a couple of players go for that kind of money, and he did pretty decently for India in a couple of T20 games that he played. But again, not a large enough sample size. About the bowling at large, you've asked, Garg. I think the big challenge is a lack of quality generally. I was going to say spin, but I think it also applies to the fast bowling. Stokes is a little off color. He's never been an express, like a bankable bowler, so to speak, right? So I don't think Rajasthan's got even one. I think they expected Unadkat to be that bowler. About the spin, Gopal's pretty good. He's done quite well over the years in the Ranji Trophy, and generally, I haven't seen him play that much, but when he was picked this at the beginning of the season, I was looking at the stats, and he's got a pretty good record. Yeah, 35 with the bat, 25, 26 with the ball. First class cricket is, I think, pretty respectable, and he's done okay. He's done okay so far. But yes, I think Dhawal Kulkarni should play all the games, but they are very light on their bowling, and I don't know how much difference Archer could make. They're quite light on their bowling at this point. Spin, pace, both.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's a good point. Archer, I think people are waiting to see if he's going to come in. So, DJ, last point about Rajasthan Royals. Mm-hmm. Are they a team with too many openers? And I don't know what your view is there.
Well, Rahane's been getting a bit of flack for his slow starts, and they say that he shouldn't be opening the batting. But I mean, what is too many openers in any form of the game? There can only ever be two people open the batting. So I think you could have 5 openers playing from 1 to 5, and there would still not be too many openers because your best batsmen need to play the maximum number of overs. I think the question I had for Pod maybe is does Rahane justify his spot in that lineup, or is he there as the Indian captain that will play every game, and is he kind of just making up the numbers, or is there a case for him to actually be playing in the 11?
This one for me?
Yeah.
Okay. With the squad that they have, I think he merits a place in the team. Okay. Because again, it's a matter of even within that squad, what is the bench strength looking like in terms of an Indian batsman? I'm actually not even aware of who are the other Indian batsmen in the squad at large. I don't know that. So I don't know who is there who could potentially replace him. But again, like DJ mentioned, how many openers is too many openers? Everyone seems to. There is a view that Tripathi should open. He's probably best suited to that position, perhaps. But at the same time, I think Rahane is also best suited to that position. And so I don't know. You with one there, I don't know how much of influence he enjoys and how much he's there just to enjoy the adulation. That is always a question mark. But but I don't know how much of a say he has. And if he has a large say, then you never know. You may just see Rahane coming into the middle order at some point. But yeah, I don't think they're going to change that.
Okay. Fair enough. So that's a good discussion on the Rajasthan Royals. I think for all our listeners, I think let's do a quick summary on the week so far in the IPL. So let me pass it over to DJ to just give us a bit of a summary.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go through the games since we were last live, which was last Sunday, and the game that you remember, we had Rohan online with us, and we were talking about the Kings 11 Punjab. At that very moment, they were playing the CSK. And Mahendra Singh Dhoni was batting, and he made 79 not out in a chase of over 190. On one leg, Dhoni nearly got them there, finishing it off in style with a 6, but they fell 4 runs short, which meant that the Kings 11 Punjab won that game. Chris Gayle was the man of the match with his 63. The next game was Kolkata Knight Riders versus the Delhi Daredevils. Rana and Russell smashed the Delhi Daredevils bowlers to all parts. It wasn't a great game if you were a Daredevils fan. They fell short by 71 runs. Again, kind of adding to the gloom of the Daredevils. On the other hand, Mumbai won their first game against RCB by 46 runs. Rohit Sharma came to the party finally. Still, they batted first. Sharma scored 94. His counterpart, Virat Kohli, scored 92 not out, which was a bit interesting because he said that he knew that the game was lost after the De Villiers wicket was gone, but he didn't want to fall too far behind on the net run rate because the last few IPLs have gone to the net run rate, and he's already kind of thinking towards the end of the game, which that's interesting because he said he wasn't trying to win the match because he thought that was already gone. Rajasthan Royals versus KKR. Again, KKR, the strong team that they are. Nitish Rana was the man of the match. They beat them by 7 wickets. And then the 2 centuries in the IPL back to back. Chris Gayle, the universe boss, scores 104 against the Sunrisers, handing the Sunrisers their first loss of the year. And then Shane Watson, another old horse and favourite of Varun's when it comes to trumping people in fantasy, scores 106 to beat Rajasthan Royals by 64 runs. And this morning we saw a fantastic kind of demolition job done by Chris Gayle and Rahul on the KKR bowlers. They chased down their Duckworth Lewis target of 120 odd with 11 balls to go. And so Kings 11 Punjab looking really strong, having breached the fortress of the Eden Gardens. So that's kind of a very quick summary of how things have gone for the weekend. I'll just hand back to Varun to kind of highlight the things he wanted to talk about from the past week.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, DJ. So it's interesting. The points table as it stands now, Kings 11 Punjab, the highest, is rank 1. They've played 5 and won 4, followed by Chennai Super Kings, then Kolkata Knight Riders. And the teams at the bottom actually, unfortunately, are playing right now. So Bangalore versus Delhi doesn't seem to be a great game. But guys, I have to ask one question before we go to our
next. Which team do you support? What team do you support?
I support players, my friend. I support fantasy. But no, I'm a Delhi Daredevils fan, and it's not been looking good for the last 11 years. So that's been sad. But Pod, let me ask you a question. Chennai, right? When we started talking about the IPL, we talked about Chennai being a team of, having a very high average age. And I mean, personally, I'm just talking on my behalf. It's completely shocked me. The team structure, the guys in the team. I don't want to kind of ask you the question in a particular way, but what have you thought about Chennai Super Kings?
I'll be very honest with you, not at all surprised. They just, it maybe, I don't think it's even an exaggeration to say it doesn't look like they were out of it for 2 years. Because they've come back with a team that at its core is largely the same. And if I just think of the core of Chennai, the core players, I think the one person that they're missing, the one person that is not there, but they aren't missing, is Ashwin, which I think is great for the IPL because I think he's like easily the most watchable team for me personally. This IPL has been Punjab. Like quite easily the most watchable, most refreshing approach has been that of Punjab's. And, it's taken 10 years to say something like that about that team, which is, so whatever Ashwin's done, and I don't think it's Sehwag, he was there last year as well. It has to do something with the captaincy. Of course, it helps when you have players like Gayle and Rahul in the kind of form they are. But Chennai, honestly, to me, hasn't surprised me as much. I was a bit surprised with Watson's 100. Didn't expect him to get that many. I think to me, he's of that age now where I think he'll frequently get, I was of the opinion he'd frequently get 30s or 40s and pick up. Still a very, 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 very smart bowler. And I mean, I probably would play him as a bowler alone in T20 cricket. So to me, that's how much he brings as a batsman, right? I think if you look at his stats, he never goes for more than 30. Never. Like, very rarely. And he'll always pick up a wicket or two. So I think so it's not surprised me as much as it surprised a lot of people. And I think people have gone by age, but you look at the older people in this team, besides Watson, have generally been the fittest members of their teams for a long time, whether it's Dhoni or it's Bravo. So not very surprised.
So interesting point. I think the biggest takeaway from me from what you've said is actually does a team culture and the core of a team have a big influence on how they perform? Because again, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but Jadeja, Raina, these guys are not firing, but the core of the team and what Stephen Fleming and Dhoni have actually created is being talked about. And Watson himself came out and alluded to the fact that they've created a great team culture. So similar with Punjab, I think it's a very interesting point that maybe you just don't need rock stars in the team. You need a strong unit and a strong culture. And interesting, you talked about age. That was going to be one of my next questions. So let me try going to Ashwin if he can hear us. If not, we'll continue with DJ on this question. But is IPL a young man's game? Is T20 a young man's game? Or is it something different? Because we've seen Gayle and Watson kind of come out and smash it in the last 2 days.
Yeah, let me try to take this, and I hope you guys can hear me this time. Gayle had, 3 back-to-back half centuries, one of which was a century. Watson made a century, which I haven't seen from him in quite a long time. So, obviously, lots of great stuff from both of them. Two key insights from me. There seems to be a linking back to culture. Gayle, Watson, and Rahul, what they have in common this year is that they were all RCB. They were all dropped by RCB or abandoned by RCB. And that's fascinating when you really think about it, right? 3 players, RCBs at the bottom of the table, and they let go of these 3 players who are dominating in their new teams. The second thing, I think 2 weeks ago when we talked about what are we most excited about with the IPL, I said I love seeing the new faces, the new blood. Markanday had a good start. DJ actually said, I like the opposite. I like seeing the old players come back, the Rainas, the old blood. And so I was doing a little bit of digging, and I remember if you go back to 2009, the first season, 2 of the most successful in were Shane, 39, and Anil Kumble, age 38 and almost 39. And so coming into that, we said, is this tournament just where where they used to play Asia 11 versus World 11, where retired players come to just get one last try? Is that what the IPL is going to be? And Kumble, I remember, took a spell of 5 wickets for 5 runs, which till date is the 3rd best IPL bowling performance ever, the best ever 5-wicket haul. And so it leaves something to be said that, hey, in a 20-over format, there is obviously a ton of room or importance of temperament, experience, just having been there before and being in situations that shows that the experience they bring, the years of T20 and 50-over cricket really mean something. And I'm the first to be proven wrong on that. I always support the young blood. I didn't have Gayle in my team. I didn't have Watson in my team. So I've fallen behind in our fantasy league. But the reality is that the data and the history shows that experience and temperament means a lot, even in the shorter format.
Okay, great. And I think that's interesting. I have to share one very quick story, right? Rohan and I were sitting here, and he was picking his team, and he was asking me, I've already got Watson, but should I trump Watson? And I said, dude, why would you trump Watson? Like, okay, he might make 30. He might get you one wicket, but why would you trump Watson? And Rohan asked me, dude, what if he scores a century? And I was like, dude, there is no way he's going to score a century. And Rohan hasn't spoken to me since last night properly, but yeah, but interesting about fantasy, I can see my friend DJ smiling. He's at the top of the league by quite a distance. So
Because I had Watson Trump, right? Old is gold,
how
my
does
friend. Old is gold.
how does it
I had
feel?
Watson Trump too.
Yeah, in fact, Ford had Gale and Watson Trump. But
Oh
DJ,
shit, nice.
uh, how does it feel? It must be unusual for you, man. Over the last 10 years, being top for such a long period of time, how does it feel?
So I've won it a couple of times, if you don't remember. I mean, see, I wasn't the one making the claims that I've always finished in the top three in the last decade. I mean, there was someone who said that, and I don't know who it was, but they're so far below, I can't quite see them anymore.
Yeah, it's a bit embarrassing that even though phone screens are getting bigger, I still have to scroll down to find my team. So it really is a bit embarrassing on that front.
Yeah, but what are your
yeah,
plans to make a comeback now, Varun? I'm keen to understand what the Piche Se Var moment is going to be. What is the plan? I mean, two
I
weeks
think
in.
the plan is to use the 2x multiplier very effectively. And I've got my Excel files out. I've got my thinking cap on. The 2x multiplier, which starts tomorrow, guys, you better watch out for that.
Because I heard you were planning to leave the league and then come back once you've made up the points. Is that what the plan is still, or
No,
because it
that's
wouldn't be
not
the first
honorable.
time someone's done that?
What is this multiplier? What is this multiplier?
So Pod, okay, Pod and everyone else who's watching who plays fantasy, this the version that we're playing, which is the official IPL T20 site. Basically, between game 20 and 56, it allows you 5 opportunities to double your points for the entire game, right? So that is actually game changing because Pod, like you mentioned, you had Watson and Gale Trump over the last 2 days, which got you 1,000 points. If you had switched on your 2x multiplier for both those games, you would have probably been at 2,000 points. So
So the idea is to fill your team in a particular day with 7 or 8 people who are playing, and then use your 2x.
And
that's the idea.
yeah, and you've got to make sure both your trumps perform on that day. So that would be. I mean, that would just
You
be a
can do that
bumper.
for 5 games.
Because even Varun might come within 1,000 points of like the next person then.
So sad, dude.
No, we'll all move another 1,000 points ahead.
But at one stage in the week, Ashwin and I were 1 and 2 in the league. Sadly, that jodi has been broken. But Ashwin has also once finished number 6 in the world. So I wouldn't write any of the one tip one hand bloggers off yet.
Yeah, not at all. And in fact, I do have to say one more anecdote about that. When I told somebody once, some work colleague, that my brother finished 6th in the world, they said, "Wow, what did he win? Did he win like a car or something?" And I was like, "No, he just like got bragging rights for like 2
And
days."
he took a screenshot and it's up on his office workplace desk.
So I wish it was a car, and I heard DJ say pounds instead of points by mistake, but unfortunately there's no money. It is just about the personal glory. But guys, so fantasy's been fun. Let me ask all three of you one question. It is on my mind. Rahul is outperforming, right? India has got a gap in the middle order. Is Rahul the next opener, and should Rohit Sharma be moved down to number 4? And I'm asking this. I'm trying to ask this question and get a reply from you guys without any emotion, pure, kind of just pure based on performance and the need for the Indian cricket team in the ODI space moving forward. So let me ask Pod first. I know Pod is a big. Pod actually was the one who told me that Rohit Sharma should open many years ago. So I'm very interested to hear Pod's view.
So I stick with that. I think Rohit Sharma cannot be moved. I think he's the second best one-day batsman in the world right now, and I don't think you move him. So, and then 2 things. The first is Rahul opening. Firstly, I wouldn't want to change the opening combination because that's the one thing that you've got nailed over the last few years in the one-day team. And the second is, I still think T20 cricket and one-day cricket are different kettle of fish. Not sure if Rahul's done enough to make it into the one-day team. Again, arguably, he's not been given enough chances. I get that as well. But just seems to me that he still seems to have difficulty finding that middle ground. And occasionally you see that in Test cricket, he'll block out, and then play a silly shot. So I don't know, perhaps, but I don't think as an opener. And on the basis of the whatever little evidence we've seen last four or five games, my pick for the middle order would be to fill in that slot in the middle order would be Sanju Samson.
Interesting. Okay, I actually thought I was about to. I was imagining you saying Dinesh Karthik, not Sanju Samson, but fair point.
Possibly Karthik as well, but Samson.
Yeah, and in fact, I think my view, I've said it a couple of times, my view is quite simple on this. I just feel that the team is not going to bring in new people when you've got already 5 or 6 bench strength for the middle order. So I would love to see Sanju Samson play for India, but leading up to the World Cup, I'm not sure, and that's why I mentioned Dinesh Karthik. Let me ask DJ. DJ, what do you think about the Rahul Rohit Sharma discussion?
I mean, we spoke about this in South Africa, I think, and our issue was where is the explosion coming in the middle order? And we talked about the IPL, we've got all these big hitters, but they're all foreigners and they're not Indian big hitters. And where are those guys coming from? Earlier in this show, we've talked about Rishabh Pant being one of the big hitters. But we came to the conclusion that Rohit Sharma was the biggest hitter that India had. And therefore, if they need explosive power towards the end of the innings, he should move down the order and Rahul should open. Since then, Dinesh Karthik has played that innings and he's been batting absolutely beautifully. I mean, the innings he played today, it was only 43. But some of those shots through the leg side were just, I mean, they were perfect. Splitting the gap, he's probably in the form of his life. So I would say he should take the number 4 slot. He is the top contender at the moment. And contrary to what we spoke about maybe 2-3 months ago, I think Rohit Sharma, who's been a successful opener, has made a successful partnership with Shikhar Dhawan. It's probably too late to change that combination now for the World Cup. So we should stick with that. And we should keep Karthik at 4, maybe even 5. And who would bat at 4 for India then?
Dhoni.
But Dhoni is too slow. Dhoni is too slow. He's not going to be able to
if he's slow for 4, then he's too slow for lower down the order.
No, but he's too slow for 4, but he's okay for lower down the order if he gets out.
Yeah, but I think I agree with Paul. I think Dhoni needs to bat at 4. But Ashwin, what are any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I would say T20s, yes. Rahul at the top of the order, force Rohit to move down like he does for Mumbai. ODIs, agree with what's been said before. Rohit and Dhawan are too strong. Rahul maybe can slot into the middle order and move his way up over time. The one thing I will caveat is Rahul played 10 ODIs for India and averaged 35. So it wasn't out of the park, but it wasn't an average of 20-21. He lost his spot due to injury. He got injured and lost his spot on the side. And it just so happened to be during the time when Dhawan, Rahane, Rohit were all at the peak of their game. So I think it's a little harsh to say in the opportunities he's got, he hasn't shown the ability. I think we would be silly to be leaving him out of our 2019 consideration, but probably not as an opener.
Okay.
Guys, we've got a couple of comments coming in on Facebook, and Prakash Shahi Thakuri has asked, what would it be like if Sandeep Lachamani played? And this is obviously the Nepalese spinner. Maybe one of you can answer that. I don't know who wants to take it.
Sorry, DJ, I have to jump in. Not one of us. We have a Nepali citizen with us on the show, and who has told me about Lachimane earlier and how he wants him to play for Delhi. So, Pod, take it away. This is your question.
So I was mentioning this to Garg earlier that I don't think he's going to play now. I would love to see him play, but I think it all came down to the first couple of games of the season. That's what happened with Rashid Khan. Nobody expected him to play last year. Everybody thought, he's been picked, great experience, he can learn and go back home. Turned out to be is the world's best bowler at this point in T20 cricket. But I don't think he's going to get to play. I would love to see him play. I've watched him bowl throughout the World Cup qualifiers, the pre-qualifying tournament, in which Nepal stood second, and he was highest or second highest wicket taker. Even in the qualifiers where Nepal didn't do too well, Nepal finished 8th, he was still very good. And I think he's a great talent. I hope he plays. I don't think he will.
Okay.
Okay, and we've got another question, and I don't know what it relates to directly, but Swati Wig has asked, what about the hole in the ozone layer? Let's focus on important things. So, guys,
Fantastic. So I've just had dinner with Swati and told her I had to leave early because I had to do my video blog. So thanks Swati for the question, and here's a shout out to you.
but you haven't answered her question still.
I mean, the hole in the ozone layer, I think it's just there for a glorious cover drive, man. I think if you can pierce the
Straight
gap.
into outer space.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, anyway.
I, I have one thought. It's something I thought of once. Some people have talked about it. Wanted to get your opinion on it. Do you think what are your thoughts rather on allowing 4 international players plus an associate level player in any 11? I think, besides the fact that I would love to see a person or two from Nepal play, but I think beyond that, even strategically, I think it would make a lot of sense for the BCCI, because that in itself would be promoting associate cricket far more than anything that the ICC has ever done. And I don't know, so I just want to get your thoughts on that. 4 foreign nationals plus 1 associate foreign player, if you'd so like.
Yeah. So, I mean, let me just answer that quickly. I think it's a pretty good idea, Paul. I think there is a need to help these nations internationally, and the IPL is a good platform where the entire world is watching.
Standard will improve because let's face it, every IPL team has at least one Indian player who is of substandard quality. Not every 6 or 7 of them. And when I say substandard, I mean I take wrong choice of words. Perhaps not good enough, or perhaps not as good as some of the associate players.
Yeah, I think the challenge is just that how does the BCCI view it, right? Because it is the Indian Premier League, and these players, while they may not be up to the international level or even the IPL level that we're seeing, they're clearly good enough to make it to the playing 11. So from that perspective, the BCCI is giving these Indian players a kind of a platform.
Absolutely.
I think what's interesting is, look, I would love to see it. You see some great people, and Pod, I know you're a huge Afghanistan fan as well. You see some great people coming through, some of the best talent today. So I'm a big fan of it. I just think one has to think through how could you put it in.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Varun said, it is the Indian Premier League at the end of it, and I mean, what interest does the BCCI have really in promoting that? I mean, the 4 foreign players is to bring the big names and to bring the eyeballs to the game, right? The associate play, it's a nice idea. I mean, but I don't know whether you've noticed or not, but the BCCI isn't a big fan of spreading the world, the game around the world. I mean, so
it is when it suits its interests.
yeah, but why? The question for them would be, what would they benefit from adding an associate player and depriving perhaps an Indian player of the opportunity to represent his franchise? It's an interesting idea, but I think in practice it'll be difficult because they'll just be counted as the 4 foreign players, and if they're great enough, like Rashid Khan, as you pointed out, Rashid Khan, Mujib, well, they're no longer associate players anymore. To be
They're not
honest.
associate players.
They're a test playing nation, and they're playing the next World Cup. But for them to stand on their own, I think it's going to be a hard sell for the BCCI, honestly.
Yep.
But it almost felt like this was an interview for you, and you're always told, right, when you go for an interview, at the end, make sure you ask them a question. So, well done, man. Thanks for asking us a question. So, with that, we've come to the end of our show. Episode 8 is done, guys. Please remember to watch our live video or the video that will be on our blog. Go to our website, check out our podcast, and generally, support us whenever you can. Let us know how we can make this better. So thanks, and look forward to catching up next week with more IPL topics and another special guest who will support a different team. So look forward to that. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. See you.